If God knew that this tree will bring destruction and chaos into this world, why did he even put the tree in the daggone garden? If he knew it was going to fail, if he knew that man was going to fail, why did God put this tree in the garden? It's a good question. If he knew that if this was going to be detrimental to man and God's relationship, God, why'd you put the tree in the garden? Why'd you do it? Having the tree in the garden gave the man a command which put him under God's authority. It was important for God to do that so that Adam know his place. Just like I tell my children something, don't touch that. You're not allowed to touch that. And if you touch it, I'm whooping you behind. So I tell my son. So I tell my 2-month-old son when he gets to the proper age to understand. But God, one of the reasons why God did that is to let Adam know his place, to get him under authority, to let him know you can have all of this. And this, I'm pretty sure this was the garden was just miles and miles. But God gave him everything except for one thing. Adam, I'm giving you all of this. You have the trees, all these trees you have different fruits, you have the grass, you have the ocean, you have the lakes, you have the seas, you have all of this. But there's one thing that belongs to me. There's one thing that you cannot have, and there's one thing I do not want you to touch, son. Is this tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because if you touch it, you're going to die. So my commandment is to you, and my word to you, son, you can have it all. But this right here belongs to daddy. Don't touch it. God had to put him in place to still let him know that I am the big God. I am the capital G God. You're still a lowercase God. I'm still the one on the throne, because that's what happened. That's how if you give man too much, if you give people too much, then their heads get puffed up. They start thinking they something. Lord knows you give somebody a new position in their job. Oh, their head is swollen. You give somebody a position or give somebody a promotion, they think they're running the world. So God, one of the reasons why he did that was to make sure Adam knew his place. To make sure Adam knew his place. To make sure that he knew what was what, basically. Okay? So we have that. And there's another reason. There's another reason why God allowed the tree to have in the garden. Having the tree in the garden God wanted Adam to exercise his free will and choosing to love and obey God. If you and another woman, or if you and another man is the only person in the world, of course you're going to love that woman. Of course you're going to say, oh, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever laid eyes on. You're just gorgeous to my eyes. You're the number one woman in my life. Of course you'd be the number one woman in life, because she's the only woman in the world. Of course she's going to be the number one woman in your life, because she's the only woman in the world, bruh. What happens if there's millions and billions of women in the world, which it is today? which is why we have. No, I'm not gonna go there. But of course, you're going to love that woman because she's the only one woman in the world. God wanted to test the love of Adam. It's easy to say that you love me if I'm the only one in your face. So God put the tree there to test the love of Adam. Son, I know you love me. But what did Jesus say? If you love me, you would do my commandments. If you say that you love me, you do my commandments. So God put it there. God don't want robots, man. Just like you don't want nobody to force to love you. You don't want nobody to force to kiss you. You don't want nobody to force. You don't want to force somebody to go on a date with you. How? That just wouldn't sit right to me. I'm in this relationship with this person and he don't want to be here. He's just mad and grumpy. Go. Don't stay with me. God doesn't, and that is the love side of God. God is such a gentleman. He's not going to force you upon your will to stay with him. No. He's not going to do that. God's not going to do that. He's not going to force you. God doesn't force his love on nobody. He's not going to force his love on nobody. We have to understand that. He's not going to force his love on anyone. So that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why God allowed that. Bear with me 1 second. What the world's going on with this thing? All right. So that's the two main reasons on why God put the tree in the garden. Now we're gonna go to Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3. Bear with me one brief second as I try to share my screen again. Genesis chapter 3. And I'm starting at verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, you should not eat of every tree in the garden? I know some people struggle with KJV. But he said, did God really say that? Did God really say you couldn't eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God said, you should not eat of it. Neither shall you touch it, lest you die. Now, God didn't say you should not. God didn't say if you touch it, you'll die. He didn't say that. He said, the day you eat of it, you shall die. So sometimes women like to exaggerate. They got that from that's where women got it from. We got it from Eve. They like to exaggerate at times and add a little more in there than what was really said. But God just said that the day you eat of it, you shall die. He didn't say if you touch it. He said if you eat of it. Okay, let's go. Let's keep going. Verse 4. And the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die. For God does know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes will be open, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave so also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. Now,